Hi, I'm Christopher Stewart, and I'm here to talk about the production for the Family Channel known as Good King Wenceslas. Now, we started production on this in, I think it was December of 1985. It was in the middle of the winter, and of course it was filmed in Kent. It's become like complete cliche to say if you're going to do a medieval film, it's going to be filmed in Kent. And it's almost expected if you're going to do a medieval film, it's going to be filmed in Kent. Kent Castle is probably the most famous castle in all of England as far as motion picture is concerned. Every single hallway, every room has been photographed and used in a production. Some of the sets we were in, some of the built parts of the castle we were in, were even used in films starring Errol Flynn. So, I mean, literally, it's a complete cliche to say you're in Kent. So, for the most part, they would look at the director and say, pick a location you like and call that the location you're going to be in, because everyone's going to see it and everyone's just going to know that's Kent. And they'd rather hear that it's someplace else, which is okay. I mean, you know, most of the film was probably seen more in the UK than it was seen in the US. Even though it was run by the Family Channel, it was probably still seen more in the UK. This film brought together a lot of people that were a lot of fun to work with. Brought in Olivia de Havilland in one of her final performances before she retired. And she's a fantastic lady, a wonderful actress. I enjoy working with her every time I can. I worked with her twice on this and on The Fifth Musketeer, or The Man in the Iron Mask, whichever title they use for it. This film actually saw an interesting thing. We brought Roger Corman in front of the camera and made him act as a person, as an actor, in the film, which is really unique. I mean, I loved seeing him act. He's incredible when he can show you just how well he really can act, and he stops being a director. And that was really, really fun seeing him act. I got to work with my great friend from England, John Hallam, who invented my stage name of Jonathan Brandis for the production. And of course it was because his name is John and I'm brandishing a sword against a torch, or a torch against a sword. So that's the whole point of that. But working with him was just fantastic. I loved him in Dragon Slayer, and I wanted to work with him for a long time. And then when we finally met, it turned out that he wanted to work with me because he had seen a number of my productions. And we just had a blast. We had just an absolute fun time. I think we redid that sword fight like 6 times just to show different angles and different possibilities of an ending. The original director wasn't exactly plain as to how he wanted it to end, so we had like 5 or 6 takes in which I either stab him or it's seen as the way it's in the final cut in the US Family Channel version of how the cross reflects and he's standing up and he screams and then suddenly he's on the ground. And it was because they wanted to reduce the violence for the Family Channel and make it more family oriented. But they also did like 5 or 6 takes showing different angles and different possibilities for an ending so that they could choose among themselves which would be the best for the production. And we said, that's fine, we're just having fun with fighting each other, you know? I mean, and speaking of fighting each other, I got to work again with Tone. Tony's fantastic. He's a Roger Corman specialist, and he's a sword master from all over the world. He's like me, he's trained everywhere, and he's one of the best swordsmen I've ever worked with. And he taught me a lot on Florentine and whatnot, and we just had an absolute blast working together. And let's see, this production also brought in a wonderful lady who started work with HBO Pictures, and this was like her 2nd or 3rd film that was my female co-star in the production. And it allowed us to bring on board a couple of people from the production of Lady Hawk, which was really neat. because I had seen that film and I really enjoyed those actors. I enjoyed the boy in his role in Lady Hawk, and to work with him again was just absolutely amazing. I mean, that was just fun. He's such a great actor. And we had a blast. We had an absolute blast working with the production. It was very cold, and everything we were wearing was like super thick padding and whatnot, which is why it's really kind of funny. We would almost be wearing coats underneath the thing, because it was something like maybe 10 degrees outside when we were filming. And we were trying to keep the horses warm. That was a challenge. And speaking of horses, my horse was a wonderful animal, and I think the funniest story about that is when I was meeting the horse and the trainer for the first time, and I said, "What's the horse's name?" And they told me, and I said, "Oh God, you gotta be kidding me." And I went, "Come here, Chestnut," and the horse just suddenly walked right over to me, and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, but look at it, come on, you're naming your horse Maple Sugar? Come on. First of all, Maple's a female name, and Maple Sugar, very long, and you're embarrassing the horse. Come on." You know? So the horse's name is Chestnut. So we were just having a blast with that. But it was really enjoyable to work and to do that thing, and I really kind of miss some of the actors and actresses I worked with there. I would love to work with them again. I really enjoy medieval acting. I enjoy Shakespearean acting, and I had such a great time with that. I wish I could do more films set in a medieval setting, or that time frame, fantasy productions. I love that entire time frame. I love wearing armor and doing sword fights. I'm an expert at doing sword fights and whatnot. I've trained in all over the world in sword, mace, flail, things of this nature, and I'm a martial artist to boot. So I really enjoy doing that kind of thing. But yeah, that's our production. It was actually held back. It was originally filmed in, I think, 85, and it wasn't released in the US until about 91 or 92, because they wanted to get Enya to do the soundtrack. And so they held the production back until after Enya's album of, I think it was Watermark, debuted and was actually known. And once they had that, then they released the production on the Family Channel, which I haven't checked. They may actually still be running it. It's hard to tell. But it was a really enjoyable film. It's a lot of fun. And thank you.